Mr. Steele'in sorduğu Vice President galiba kendisine sormuş. Demiş ki biz forecast'ı insanlara nasıl anlatacağız? Biz de son 7 senedir kendimize bu soruyu soruyoruz. Biz bu revenue management'ı Türkiye'deki otelcilerimize nasıl anlatacağız? Anlatırken otellerden kovulduk, bir dayak yemediğimiz kaldı. Siz sahtekar mısınız? Fiyat değiştirilir mi? Biz asla böyle bir şey yapmayız dendi. Ama geldiğimiz noktada gerçekten revenue management konusu otelcilerimiz tarafından çok daha makul seviyede anlaşılır pozisyona geldi. Müsaadenizle ajandanın üstünden biraz yürüyelim. Her birinizin yaka kartı var. Gün içerisinde ajandada kim konuşacak, nasıl konuşacak merak ederseniz buradaki QR kodu telefonunuza okutmanız yeterli. Buradaki QR kod sizi etkinliğin ajandasına yönlendirecek. Sonra yani sıradaki konuşmaların içeriğini her birini direkt buradan takip edebilirsiniz. Ben size kısaca Hotel Linkage hakkında da bilgi vermek istiyorum. Hotel Linkage son 7 senedir Türkiye'de faaliyet gösteren bir firma. 5 ana başlık altında faaliyet gösteriyor. Direct Booking dediğimiz konuda faaliyet gösteriyor. Otellerin kendi web sitesinden rezervasyonlarını arttırmaları için paket halinde 16'ya yakın ürün ve hizmet sunuyor. Yanı sıra otellerin rezervasyon ve dağıtım kanallarını yönetmesi için çeşitli ürünler sunuyor. Geçtiğimiz yıl DigiHands diye kendi şirket içinde bir kreatif ajans kurduk. Neden bu ajansı kurduk? Aslında bu etkinliğin konu başlıklarından bir tanesi. Biz yaşadığımız süre boyunca şunu anladık. Aslında satış, revenue management ve pazarlama birbirinden çok ayrılmayan, tümleşik hareket edilmesi gereken konular. 2 yıl önce biz bu departmanı kurduğumuzda, arkadaşlarımız da var burada. Hatta kendi şirket içinde olmasına rağmen departmanların birbirini anlaması konusunda bile muazzam zorluklar yaşadık ki bir otel bir ajansla çalışıyor düşünün. İçeride revenue manager'ı varsa var, online'ı yöneten biri var. Bu üçü birbiriyle aynı dili konuşamadığı zaman aslında çok efektif bir iş ortaya koyamamış oluyorsunuz. Bizim 2 yıl oldu bunu kuralı, hala yani çok dürüst bir itiraf. Şirket içerisinde bile buradaki iletişimi sağlamakta zorlanıyoruz. Ama bunu gün sonunda yapmamız gerekiyor ki bununla ilgili de muazzam bir başlık var. Bunun üstünden geçeceğiz. Yine Hotel Intelligence adı altında ve Smart Marketing Tools altında pazarı analiz etmenizi sağlayan, işte forecast yapan, bütçenizi takip etmenizi sağlayan, ADR'ım ne, RevPAR'ım ne, bunları takip etmenizi sağlayan sistemlerimiz ve topladığımız bu datalarla pazarlamayı akıllıca yapmamızı sağlayan sistemlerimiz var. Linkage Pay dediğimizde zaten klasik Hotel Linkage olarak müşterilerimiz rezervasyon yaptığında bir link aracılığıyla ya da otomatik olarak onlar otele gelmeden rezervasyonlarını almasını sağlayan ürünler. Hotel Linkage bu alanlarda faaliyet gösteriyor. Hotel Linkage kimdir diye merak eden varsa bu kısa konuşmayı da yapmak istedim. Son olarak bir hikayeyle konuşmamı bitireceğim. Zannediyorum ki günün konusuyla çok ilgili. Hem şirketimizde belli bir süresini dolduran hem de departman müdürlerimize kitap hediye almak istedim ve okuduğum kitaplara bakıyordum. DNR'a girdim. Her birine farklı özelliklerine uygun kitaplar seçtim. Ama okuduğum kitapları seçmeye dikkat ettim. Bir 10 yıl önce okuduğum bir kitabın ön sözünü okudum. Dedim ki etkinlikle ne kadar uygulu, bunu anlatayım etkinlikte. Şöyle başlıyor. İngiliz bir kolonist Avustralya'ya bundan 100 yıl önce gidiyor ve toprakları gezmek istiyor. Bir aborjinli yerliyle toprakları gezerken çok enteresan bir hayvana rastlıyor. Diyor ki bu ne diyor? Aborjin de diyor ki kanguru. Adam hemen not alıyor, resmini çiziyor falan. Ülkesine döndüğünde de kangurunun fotoğraflarını tüm eğitim kurumlarına herkese dağıtıyor ve hepimiz kanguruyu tanıyoruz. Bundan birkaç sene önce bir tane dil bilimci aborjin dilini incelemek için Avustralya'ya gidiyor. Bakıyor ki kanguru aslında, yani kanguru diye bildiğimiz hayvana başka bir şey söylüyorlar. Kangurunun ne olduğunu araştırdığında kangurunun seni anlamadım demek olduğunu öğreniyor. Bizim sektörümüzdeki bu kanguruların sayısını azaltmamız gerekiyor. Teknoloji sağlayıcılarla otelcilerimiz, otel departmanları arasındaki kanguruların sayısı azaldığı sürece eminim ki biz çok daha başarılı olacağız. Çok daha kazançlı işlere imza atacağız ve teknik olarak herkes bundan mutlu olacak. Mevlana'nın dediği gibi insanların kanatları vardır ve insanların kanatları gayretidir. Bu da kolay olmuyor. Gayret göstermemiz gerekiyor. Eğer biz bu kanatlarımızı, gayreti doğru şekilde kullanırsak eminim çok güzel yerlere uçacağız. Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Ben şimdi konuşmasını, bir diğer konuşmasını yapmak için Sascha Houseman'ı sahneye davet etmek istiyorum. Alkışlarınızla. Hello, welcome, Sascha.
Hello.
Do you
Thank
mind
you
if
very
I
much.
give them a quick intro about you?
No, absolutely.
I'll
Go ahead.
say all good things.
But I can't check.
Okay, just double check it, okay? We have translation. Sascha Houseman çok özel birisi, gerçekten. Daha OTA yokken bu işe girmiş birisi, 99 yılından itibaren ve seyahat teknolojilerinin gelişimini ne kadar karmaşık olduğunu bilenler bilir. Her sene yaşayarak, yatırımlar yaparak, takımların içinde yer alarak, fikirler vererek birebir yaşamış birisi. Bu sebeple her davet ettiğimizde kendisi geliyor. Şimdi kendisinden çok güzel şeyler öğreneceğiz. Thank you for being here, Sascha. I leave stage to you. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me here. It's good to be back on stage after 2.5 years of a very dry sitting in front of a PC and just looking at cameras and people in videos rather than in true face. So thank you very much for having me here. What I was going to do today is talk a little bit about change in technology, but not just change in reservation technology, but change in technology in general that impacts the travel industry and that we see from consumers that have been taught a lot over the last 2.5 years. And you know what I mean with that, I'll show you in a minute, but it's quite incredible what people learn when they actually sit at home and have nothing else to do. But before we start, let me ask you a couple of questions, and be honest and just raise your hands. We're not trying to check whether you've done your homework or not. We're just trying to get a trend. So pre-COVID, who of you had online and digital check-in or even thought about it? 1, 2, 3. So a handful. That's good. That's more than I expected. Who of you had room devices, tablets, or bring your own devices, interaction in the room that the consumer could electronically use? Raffles, we know. Yes. Who else? Nobody really. Another one. 3. Who of you allowed guests to easily cancel room cleaning on a daily basis? So you have your tablet or a quick way of digitally declining room service. Raffles, very good. Somebody else? Yeah, a handful. And who had online digital checkout, meaning that guests didn't actually have to show up at reception and got their invoice emailed or payments taken from their own device? Any of you? Yeah? You've done your homework, huh? Pre-COVID. Very good. And that's the trend that we used to see pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, none of that was really important. Customers didn't really care very much. But let's see how that actually changed. Before we do that, just quickly who I am. I've been in the travel technology space since 1999. I joined before the dot-com bubble actually busted, and I was in Silicon Valley when it did. Been dealing with travel technology ever since. Have run several companies, most well-known probably Rate Tiger Channel Management in the early days. Today, I run my own company still. It's a slightly different offset. We are, as CRS, predominantly focused on leisure and resort hotels. We have a few clients, so we have somewhat of an idea of what we do. In terms of a returning industry, questions I get commonly asked, and I was asked that during COVID, but also now after COVID. My number one question, is COVID over? Right? Ukraine impact, what's coming next? Right? And my response to that is does it really matter? Because we have to deal with business today, and Andrew said it earlier, we have to deal with business going forward. So I have to plan. It doesn't matter whether there is COVID, whether there is Ukraine war. I have to deal with the fact that something may disrupt my business or not. Right? And the good thing about travel is after 23 years of ups and downs, I don't have 30 complete yet, but 23 years of ups and downs in travel, I've learned one thing, and that is travel will always bounce back. Right? There's a guy that founded Focusrite, not sure whether of you have known him, it's called Philip Wolf, unfortunately passed away during COVID, and he used a term called revenge travel. Revenge travel is a phenomenon that when you prohibit or prevent consumers from traveling, they'll catch up. Right? When there comes the time that governments open borders, that everything goes, travelers come back. Right? And I was laughed at when I said that in April 2020. I said, look, guys, what are we doing here? Summer's going to come. Yeah, we may have some COVID, but people are going to travel. All my friends in travel told me that's not going to happen. Consumers are scared. They won't travel. Guess what? Flights were available. Hotels were available. Consumers went. Right? And that's the good thing about travel. It's resilient, reinventive, and adaptive. Right? So, and it's that because consumers want it from us. Consumers ask us for it. So the opportunity of crisis is really digitization, right? And that's the major difference between dealing with a crisis 10, 15 years ago and dealing with a crisis today. Digitization will help us to overcome quite a lot of hurdles. Let's look at the issues that we have in hospitality, right? Right now, we have changed consumers. Online digital is the new normal. Beforehand, when you went to a hotel, I didn't really care very much. And a personal experience, now I'm going to batch Raffles a little bit, right? I come to a very luxurious hotel and I come into my room, I can't stream my own Netflix on the TV, right? Something I'm willing to accept today. I'm more and more not interested in having that anymore, right? I expect to come to the room and have similar things that I have at home. Digital check-in is the same thing that I'm expecting, right? I don't want to queue at reception anymore. And that's a fundamental change, right? No more queuing at reception, simply because I know it can be done differently, because I was trained for 2.5 years as a consumer sitting online that things can be digital. In hospitality, staff, right? Amazon is one of those that has taken a lot of staff away from us. I talked to a friend of mine, he runs an Amazon facility, and he said, I love you guys in travel. I love you to pieces. You have service-oriented people. They work their butts off. You pay them shittily, and you don't appreciate them. Guess what? The only thing that we do differently is we pay them shittily. Everything else we give them, right? So they work at the same price in Amazon. They feel much more welcomed and and accustomed, and they don't have to work 14 hours a day anymore, right? So those people are gone. So the issue that we have is this, staff is not going to be as much available as it was. Staff is expecting different things from us, and digitization is a way of making sure that, the shortage that we have, that we can overcome. The other thing, technology lacks innovation. Right? And we'll go into that in a bit. And unfortunately, I had to change slots, so I'm 10 minutes short. But I also had a long list of technology that you actually should be considering in a hotel. But the list of technology you need to consider in hotels is very long. It goes from pre-stay bookings, dealing with data, requests that are coming in, online check-in, in-room, during stay, after stay, marketing thereafter. So there's a lot of data and technology that needs to come in. And the problem is pre-crisis, nobody really had a focus on it, right? Because business just worked. And when business works and it's not being disrupted, you never check if something could be done better, right? And that's what the crisis has given us. All of us had to go back and review our businesses, and digitization, is progressing and needs to progress. The other thing is we had COVID, which didn't increase cost, but it decreased revenue. Now with the Ukraine crisis and crises following the Ukraine, financial issues and what have you, costs are going beyond control, right? Not sure about Turkey because I'm not very close to the market, but in Central Europe, price for electricity just shoots up. Prices for food and beverage, right? Just consumption items that you need to buy in hotels for breakfast, and meals has shot up. So cost increase is also a control, and even there's revenue management that can be done in restaurants, right? The way that I compose meals, the way that I store calculations in terms of how much I need, helps to decrease costs. So this is not just about, travel technology in regards to booking hotel rooms. This is also, throughout the entire property where technology can help to decrease costs. Let's look at the consumer, right? He's a smartphone addict. Right? I look into the room right now. Erhan on his phone, Leah on their phone, Andrew was on his phone earlier. Right? I look around here, everybody's on their phone. So the consumer is digital, online, 24/7. Right? And that is something that creates opportunities, but also creates issues. Alexa and home automation, sophisticated technology, just a placeholder for what you're up for in hotel rooms. And I wrote an article, pre-COVID about digitization in hotels, and I said it basically, sorry for the language, it sucks because I have a smart house. Right? I walk into my house, I turn on my lights, and that's an extreme, I know, but I turn on my lights with my phone. I turn on the stereo with my phone. I change the mood of the light with my phone. I run down the shades and I run them back up with my phone. And when I'm not at home and it starts raining, my house will close the window. If it gets too warm, it'll turn on the air conditioning. If it becomes too sunny, it'll put down the shades. That's automation, right? And I as a consumer, I walk home and I don't even recognize anymore because I'm used to it. And that is what, with Alexa and other technology that's available, that you will see more and more happening in houses. So what does that actually mean for a consumer? Well, he comes to the hotel, and guess what? The light switches are still a problem, right? I lie in bed, and I try to turn off the light, and I have to get up 3 times because I've got the lamp in the corner that's not connected to my bedroom night switch. I have no heating because you're so kind that when I pull my key out, that the heating goes out, and it's either freezing in the room, or when I'm in Istanbul in the summertime, I'm sweating because it takes 10 minutes to 15 minutes before the air conditioning comes down. Right? So home automation at home will change what consumers expect from hoteliers when they come to the property. Because I used to go on vacation, and I used to stay in hotels because it was luxury for me. When I was a young boy, and my parents, we come from farming, so we didn't have a lot of money. When we got the opportunity to stay in a 3, 4, 5-star hotel, that was luxury. Right? Let's face it. I came from a nice, okay-ish home into wow. I'm staying in the Raffles. So wow, it's beautiful. Right? That's going to change because now I'm coming from a nice house where everything is automated, and I tell Alexa to play my music and what have you into a hotel room, and Alexa, it's nice and quiet. Right? She ain't around. Ready to travel, no matter of budget availability. We talked about revenge travel. Right? So consumers are there now to travel. They're ready to travel all the time. And because they have their phones in their hand, they're checking all the time. So revenue management becomes more and more important because those guys, any budget that they have, they're going to spend on consumption. And consumption is to a large degree is travel. So being digital and providing product and optimized product all the time becomes more and more important as the consumer progresses. Context sensitive in areas, not so in others. I'll give you an example, right? And it makes me laugh. I travel in Germany by train, or in Spain or elsewhere. People wear masks. They come off the train, they go to the pub, they sit next to 100 people, right next to each other, hug and kiss, no masks. Right? But digitization also means that I understand where consumers expect safety and security and where they don't, right? Because consumer perception drives revenue. If the consumer feels like that he is secure in the areas where he wants to be secure, not so in others, it creates revenue. So to summarize it all, what the consumer expects is hospitality 3.0, everything possible to be digital. What we're offering in hospitality is still 1.0 because we got away with 1.0 pre-COVID. We never came to 2.0. Right? We talked about Internet 2.0. We started talking about Internet of things and other things. And in travel, we ignored it because we said, look, there are consumers. Never change a running system because it's going to break. So we didn't change the running system because the running system worked. But now the consumer has come to play because he was sitting at home and he started looking at things. And there's one major change, and I'm the biggest German batcher, as you can believe, and I'm German by nature. Germans never used credit cards. They hated them. Anything that was a bit more expensive, they wouldn't buy online. Are you crazy? I'm not going to put my data in. The FBI is going to steal it. My dad's the worst. Right? He doesn't even want to use his smartphone. But now, guess what? I'm involved in a company that sells furniture online. And selling furniture online in Germany was really, really tough pre-COVID. Consumers checked, they saw it, and then they went to the store and bought it. So we lost the money. During COVID, Germans bought 15,000 euro kitchens online. Looked at a video, looked at a few pictures, took a few measures, set up an order, paid by credit card. Right? So shows you the pandemic has done something substantial and has changed how consumers look at purchasing and how to consume things. And that creates challenges because 3.0 from 1.0 means we're missing a version in between. So we're not doing an Oracle 1 version upgrade, we're doing Oracle 2 version upgrades. Right? So there's a lot to do in order to get back on track. But when we look at it, and that's the good news, we don't have to learn anything new. We'll just have to accept the fact that what we learned pre-COVID, we actually have to do. Because there isn't anything major in terms of new technology. There's a lot of hype around online check-in. Online check-in existed pre-COVID, right? It just wasn't implemented for some reasons. Right? Some are legal reasons. In some countries, you still have a formal way of how you need to register a guest, including police reports and others. And the other was just convenience, because it wasn't required. Nobody asked me for it, so why would I implement, right? I'm not going to put an air conditioning in a car if I can sell it without, because if I can sell it for the same price, excluding the air conditioning, I make more money. So there's nothing new. That's the good news. So we don't have to completely relearn. Chatbots and everything were there pre. But we have to become quicker in adopting that technology. The speed of adoption is going to be of interest. Right? And I'll show you in a minute why. There's very interesting consumer surveys in regards to what consumers would consider. Intelligence and personalization trends. And that's where we now start going into multiple areas. We have many tasks and areas in a travel journey that concern a hotel booking and an airline booking and what have you in regards. And that's reservation. Right? Consumers are now looking for convenience, experience, and fast bookings. And I know that most of you don't like them very much, and I tend to somewhat agree. Somebody here from Booking.com? No? They're a perfect example of how you can optimize a booking. Right? Believe it or not, but consumers book on Booking.com not because it's pretty. It's a very ugly booking engine when you look at it, but it's super fast. It's convenient. I find the information I need to find, and I just find the information I need to find. Right? Go look for information that you can also know about hotels. You have to dive in a lot and you have to search. But when, price, type of room, size, easy. Pictures, all I need. Right? So there is convenience, experience, and fast booking becomes more and more important as we progress. And there is a lot to be done. It's not enough to have a booking engine on the website. That booking engine needs to be maintained, and it needs to be optimized in regards to the content that's written on it and the images that are being displayed. And that is a science. It's not as easy as it may sound. And then we come to operations. So, Andrew, we discussed this earlier, that I think running a hotel, because Andrew said, what I do is more complicated than what he does. And I think there's no difference between the two, right? Running an operation in a facility is very complicated. And here are the areas that are affected by digitization. Check-in, chatbots, a digital concierge, right? People don't want to go to the concierge anymore. Ideally, they can, open a chat and ask a question. Room division services, no paper in the rooms. That's a big change, right? Legally, you had to take paper off the rooms during COVID. Now consumers are used to not having papers in the room anymore. Right? They're expecting things to be digital. Right? Either I have it on the TV and everything can be browsed on the TV, or I have an in-room tablet device, or I have a bring-your-own-device solution where I can log in and see the things that I need to see. And then in-service also means is I can manage my air conditioning, I can manage my lights. We discuss streaming, and streaming becomes more and more important. And guess what? And I'm sorry, I don't mean to say that because it doesn't do it justice, but the cheap hotelier product, so services in the 3-star arena, less than 100 euros, most of them have a very small streaming box in the room connected to the TV. Super simple, doesn't cost a lot of money, adds a lot of convenience, right? We stayed in a hotel about 2 weeks ago in Munich. Right? You walked into the room, it took 1 minute to connect your Bluetooth to the radio and listen to your own music, right? It's convenience. And that's something that, that consumers will more and more expect. And then checkout, right? Who wants to stay at reception when it's time to leave, right? I recently was in Berlin, and a lot of my travel these days is in Germany right now. And I was in Berlin, and the queue at reception, 15 minutes. Because the checkout was so complicated for staff that it took them forever to check out. You know what I did? I threw my key on the desk and I said, if you want my money, come and find me. I have no time to stand here. Right? They charged my credit card and I never charged it back, so it was all okay. Right? But that's what we're up against. That's what we need to fix. So it's continued. It's not actually new. No, I get frustrated when people tell me, well, this is all new. How can we supposed to do it? No. You haven't done your homework pre-COVID, and you got away with it. Now you don't get away with not doing your homework, right? So go and do your homework. Contactless is the next big thing, right? It's not just enough digitization. Nobody wants to touch anymore. We touch the beer, we touch the neighbor in the bar, but we don't want to touch something that we haven't seen who touched it before us, right? So that's at reception, that's, typing in things and what have you. So contactless is a major thing. What we mean with contactless is the same thing. Check-in, contactless, right? Don't have to shake hands, don't have to get keys. I have a chatbot, I have a concierge. And with the online check-in, and we'll see that in a minute, there's also, the more digitization you have, including the room key, the better it is. In room, right? Don't give me books, don't give me paper, let me consume digitally. And when I go and pay, right, I'm the biggest advocate of payment. Right? I don't even take my credit card anymore. I pay with my watch. Right? Works right now, 98% of the cases. Very few terminals that don't accept the wallet. But we need to talk about it. We need to let consumers know, hey, we're a hip facility. With us you can do all of these things, right? And it's part of marketing going forward. Going contactless. Here's an example. And sorry, you will probably get the presentations afterwards. And if when you go and look here, kiosk check-in, web page check-in in a hotel, and an app. The majority of consumers would like to have an app to check in. And who of you does marketing here? It's brilliant. We were trying to get people to download apps, and they said, no, I'm not going to download an app. Are you crazy? I'm not going to mud my phone with your app. Now, if you give the convenience of giving people the ability to use the app to do things, guess what? You can retarget. You have them on their phone, right? So you should see digitization here as an opportunity to get back to your customer, because your customer all of a sudden has electronic information, and that electronic information he uses, but you have in return data, and data is key. A study from Britannia, 86% of guests would choose one hotel over the other just in regards to digitization, meaning concierge, checkout facilities, and others. So it shows you very soon, right now, consumers still have no choice, but more and more younger hotel groups, right, and Accor bought a few hotels that are hyped and and they have hip technology. They'll start getting more and more into that facility. So that means the entire industry has to move, because once the consumer starts looking into staying in hotels that have convenient product, then convenient product has to be everywhere, because otherwise it's too much competition. Other contactless trends, and look for the marketing opportunity in those. 79% of consumers want tap to pay. Tap to pay, there are now technologies out there that allow you to do loyalty via payment terminals, right? So you put your phone on there, you get an SMS back from it, hey, do you want 5% off your next trip? So, they don't have to sign up to loyalty anymore. Loyalty is provided because I can do it through the cell phone. Contactless door locks. 73% would download your app if you allow them to open the door. Yes, there is an investment into the technology, but guess what? If 73% of your guests download the app, 73% of your guests can be targeted, right? That's very good in single hotels. You're in a hotel group where you have multiple hotels across the planet. That's brilliant, right? So it's an opportunity. It's not a threat. Contactless services. 70% of consumers expect self-service methods to resolve questions and complaints. Hey, perfect. If I have a chatbot that can do that, it's brilliant, because that chatbot saves me cost, but at the same time I provide convenience. 80% of respondents said they would download a hotel app that would allow them to check in, check out, right? So again, marketing opportunities over opportunities. We go a little bit into artificial intelligence, right? I'm not so sure that artificial intelligence actually is really there in travel. In travel, it's still pretty much automation. Well, we're not talking about learning and deep learning and this and that. Not enough base for it. What we need to do is we actually need to go and look at automation and what we can do in order to enhance convenience. When you look at that, what the problem is in technology, in tech, is that at hotels, that technology is not being taken seriously. There's spot checks and patches, right? So, I have a friend of mine, and he loves digitization, but I laugh at him because he spot checks. He finds a problem, and then he fixes that problem. And then he finds this problem, and he puts another bandage on it. And he finds this problem, he puts another bandage on it, but he doesn't connect the dots. That's what I mean with no from A to Z planning. Digitization isn't I'm going to implement contactless room entry. It is, I'm going to implement contactless room entry. Wait a second, what other impact does it have? It's an impact of booking, of check-in, of distributing that key, and what have you. And then there's no budget and no focus, right? So when it's not being budgeted for, so if you don't go in your hotel and say, next year I'm going to digitize, and here's the budget I'm going to have for it, there's no opportunity because your staff won't be looking at it. Unfortunately, my slot was shortened from 30 to 20 minutes, so I have two, 3 more minutes. So the problem with digitization in travel right now is we are saving rather than solving. We're focused on let's fix a problem. We're not focused on let's build an experience. And although the experience, the solving, may not be the optimal cost reduction, it is a better revenue generator. Because if you invest into technology, for example, it allows you to get those apps downloaded on the consumer phone, guess what? You're going to reduce marketing costs going forward. So, every one of those aspects needs to be properly considered, and that requires a plan. Anyone that comes to us at Busy Rooms and says, I want to implement technology, we want to see the technology plan. If they don't have a presentation, if they don't have a list of at least 100 to 150 questions, I know they haven't taken it seriously, right? And they're wasting their time, and they're also wasting my time, because they're not at the point yet where they can actually make a decision which technology vendor to go with, right? Because the work before you select somebody like us or any of our partners or competitors is come to us once you're ready to understand what it really is that you want to do. And that is, all departments are aligned, everyone has bought in, and you're ready to say, let's implement. And then still task and experience is some of the same thing. Solving a problem is saving, and building an experience is solving. Those two go hand in hand. And it all starts with data. Right? You need to look at data. Right? And data consistency and data accessibility in the hospitality industry is a disaster. When you look at projects that we do in larger hotel groups, and we have hotel groups that have 280, 290 hotels, 4, 5, 6 CRMs in the group, because one doesn't like the one that the other uses. We have several booking engines. Nothing is really consolidated. I'm not talking about the major brands. They have that all in place, right? But what we call the soft brands, where not everyone has the same name on the hotel, where hotels come from different brands. Data is the key, right? You operate like that, you're going to lose out. You're going to spend more money than you really need, not just on technology, but on trying to connect the dots in between. So, automation of data management and, the replacement is the first part in any project that you will do. 69% time reduction with automation, right? Just having data and using that data and processing it through technology saves a tremendous amount of time and effort. You don't really need to be an expert, because besides what we've discussed so far in regards to technology and in-room and that, is also technology that you need to look at how you actually enable to do that, right? So there's facial recognition. So wouldn't it be brilliant when I can walk to the reception, right, and they recognize me, and I can just walk by and I don't have to do anything, because facial recognition allows them to get data from my personal profile, right? Wireless, key thing, right? Thank God wireless is now in hotels. Right? I remember going to hotels 5 years ago, and you didn't have internet, right? Or you had to pay for it, right? In Raffles, you still pay for videos, by the way, 12 euros, right? I found out last night. Right? But those are things that will be, things of the past. Bluetooth, NFCs, sovereign identity, crypto, blockchain. These are all topics that you will hear of in the next couple of years, because guess what? Bitcoin is on its way down, right? But I don't think that's going to be long term. Right? I don't like those people that think they can break future. Right? Future is not going to be breakable, and crypto is here to stay. What it will look like, we have no idea, but it is a topic that we will see in hospitality. And the blockchain also. Right? Blockchain is brilliant for contracting, commission clearing, commission reconciliation, so all those nasty things that nobody really wants to do, the blockchain is brilliant for. Right? So it's technology we need to consider and we need to look at. Right? Robotics, AI. Right? When you go to Singapore or China or other places, they're experimenting with robots that do room service, right? And they're not really convenient. I had one, right? It takes a very long time. It's not very convenient, and it's a bit alien. But then using the internet was alien 20 years ago, right? So there is a time where this will come up, and it is something that we need to look at and that we need to consider. So, but you're not alone. There are experts out there, right? And the hospitality industry, including myself, is a not invented here industry, right? We have a tendency to get consultants and then not trust them, right? And I think it's time that, when we start talking to industry players, that we take them seriously, because most of them have a core sector expertise in what they do, and they usually know better than we do. Quick ones on things that we have forgotten: virtual tours, virtual reality, virtual booking processes, videos, 360-degree views, and other things, right? We kind of push them away because digitization is not that, but digitization is exactly that, right? Metaverse brought it back. Who of you is old enough to remember Second Life? probably almost all of us, right? Second Life was Metaverse a couple of years ago, right? So it's Second Life 2.0 is Metaverse. And, it's not going to go away because consumers like doing it. And why? All of that? 17% conversion increase. Right? That's all we want. 17% doesn't sound very much. A lot of people look at me and go, why would I do this for 17%? Well, just imagine the traffic that comes to your website, 17% convert more into bookings. Less marketing spent, less money being on advertising, but more revenue. Other trends to be adopted, it's going to come. Travel will go to space. Tourism will go to space. No question about it. Whether we're going to be part of it or not, we will see. I predict it's going to be after I've retired, hopefully. Cybersecurity will be a major issue. GDPR all across the planet. The United States is also adopting more and more data protection now, and they used to be the ones that weren't so safe. Facial recognition, contactless is a key movement. We don't want to touch anymore. Face recognition is a way to go. And blockchain and NFTs will be with us, right? Non-fungible tokens, artificial art, as I would call it, because it doesn't exist. It just exists in an electronic world. But these are things that we have to deal with because consumers pay attention to them, and because consumers pay attention, we will have to consider, because what a consumer wants is what we need to deliver, right? Because the consumer is in the driving seat now. He drives the Ferrari, right? We're just providing it. Right? And if he doesn't like the controls, he'll change the model. So that's why we need to consider all those technologies. Done for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was great presentation and great speech. Thank you very much. Really, you gave us a lot of homework.
Yes, I actually let me just add one thing. We'll send the presentation out afterwards, I'm pretty sure. I volunteered to change my slot, so I had 10 more minutes. I actually prepared a long list of different technologies that you need to look at in various aspects of a consumer stay. So if you feel like it, and then once you have access to the presentation, go through the next few slides. You may find a few bullet points that are of interest to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.